European soccer's biggest game is almost upon us. A huge fixture for the clubs concerned and their fans. And for bettors, it is no different. The handle is expected to be huge. For those holding futures tickets with sizable odds, the option is there to cash out or double down. If you've not yet had an interest or just want to press up your position, sit back, enjoy and take note. This is Betting Weekly Extra Time Champions League edition. It is Borussia Dortmund versus Real Madrid. You're with Dan Roebuck alongside me, senior handicapper Steve Wist, professional bettor Will White, and one of the shrewdest stateside sports bettors, RJ. Steve, to you first. Welcome along. At the start of the season, Dortmund were what, 40s, 50s, something like that. Real Madrid around about plus 700, plus 800 at the minute. The Bet Rivers prices see Real Madrid to lift the trophy at minus 335 and Dortmund plus 250. This is fifth in the Bundesliga against the La Liga champions. Could this be, as the odds suggest, a bit of a mismatch? Good day to you.
Yeah, good day to you as well, Dan, and to RJ and Will. I've enjoyed doing these shows with you this season on the Champions League, and the semi-finals didn't really go the way that we wanted them to go. Bayern Munich against PSG would have been what we wanted for our rights, but we've ended up with Dortmund, Real Madrid, and look, in terms of like the metrics, league positions, quality on paper, of course, you could say there's a chance it might become a mismatch, no doubt about it whatsoever. But there's something about this Dortmund side this season, isn't there? A lot of people would call it luck. Some would say, maybe they deserved it in some respects, but. Yeah, you could. The simple answer to your question, yeah. In many ways, you might look at the matchup and think it could be a complete mismatch.
Well, Dortmund have confounded the pundits and indeed bettors for much of the season in this competition. I mean, over the course of the campaign, have you ever thought, I want to get with Dortmund here? Have you ever seen any money sort of round by round or just in the futures market? I mean, to me, outsider looking in, if I'm a bookmaker and a trader, I'll be desperate for Dortmund to win this because I'm guessing it's a massive lopsided book. What's your take?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say all of the bookies will be hoping that Dortmund get the job done here. They've certainly rode their luck throughout the tournament so far. In the group stages, they were opposed pretty much every single group stage match versus Milan, Newcastle and PSG. They were opposed in both legs versus PSV. But then finally, they started to attract some money against Atleti, both legs. They were backed in the Asian markets. And then last round against PSG, there was some money for them as well in the second leg. But I think that was just because PSG were a public play right in that second leg, needing to win, being at home with that strong home record, Mbappe, final season at PSG. But yeah, they did attract some money finally in that second leg. And now we're here in the final.
Real Madrid have the know-how, RJ. We know that. Carlo Ancelotti against Edin Terzic. It looks like a bit of a mismatch when it comes to the coaches as well. I mean, Carlo did brilliantly as a player, winning the old European Cup a couple of times, and he's won multiple Champions League with two different clubs here. Edin Terzic, as far as I can see, has won a German Cup as a coach, and as a player, well, I don't think he played in the top flight. I mean, even at coaching level, this potentially could be a bit of a mismatch here.
Yeah, on paper, and good morning, good afternoon to you guys. I think on paper there is a mismatch no matter how you look at this match, and I think anyone drawing in on Real Madrid respective Champions League history, and I think most automatically assume that the Spanish giant is a shoo-in to win. But I think personally a little bit differently. I think others should as well, as you alluded to, Dan. Dortmund seeking their second Champions League title, Real Madrid aiming for their 15th. Real Madrid's matches against Bundesliga's rivals this season produced 4 single-goal wins, 2 draws. They've been tested very much so each time. Tactically, athletically, mentally, I expect this to be identical. Madrid have not lost, another interesting stat, Madrid have not lost the UEFA knockout final since 1983 against Aberdeen in the European Cup. And another extra kicker here is Modric and Carvajal could join Real Madrid legend Paco Gento as the only player to win the European Cup 6 times. So there's a lot at stake for both sides, but Dortmund, a lot of value here for them, and at this stage, I think it's definitely worth a stab.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, RJ, because, and we'll get onto some picks shortly, but I think you've been one of the handicappers that we've had on the show that have sort of sided with Real Madrid in the previous couple of rounds, because, I mean, their route to the final has been fairly tough, RJ, and I think you were the lone voice suggesting that they were going to get through. You thought the prices were in Real Madrid's favour.
I did. I think Real Madrid. I just had a feeling, right? It was more. I'm more of a statistical guy. I really strive by the analytics, but I just felt as though the depth and the talent they had, even overcoming injuries, that they were going to make it to this stage. But now I'm thinking a slightly different tune against the Dortmund side, as I think Steve and Will said, that have just gained some confidence, gained some interest from bettors, and I think the money has moved in for the last couple of rounds, as Will said, and it should be an interesting final. It's Dortmund have, I think, what it takes. It's just, can they be perfect? Because they're going to have to be almost perfect from the wings, their transitional play. Gregory Kobal, the goalkeeper for Dortmund, has been instrumental to their success. So how does he perform against, the sharpshooters from Real Madrid?
It's going to be a fascinating final in many ways, but the prices do say it's a little bit lopsided. And to lift the trophy here, as we mentioned previously with Bet Rivers here, minus 335 Dortmund, plus 250, looking to emulate that great Aberdeen side under Alex Ferguson back in 1983. That was a Cup Winners' Cup final, of course. Remember watching that, you three probably weren't even born then. Anyway, who's going to lift the trophy? Steve, forget the prices. Who do you think's just going to be raising that trophy on Saturday night in London?
Real Madrid, and it's a boring answer, but look, they're serial winners down in recent years of this trophy. They know how to get the job done, and I just think Dortmund ultimately, just something will maybe go wrong. I think they'll absolutely give themselves a good account of themselves here and fight really hard, but the small margins are probably going to be with Real Madrid. They've got the extra quality, the extra class, the winning nous, the manager who knows how to win things. So I think for me, they're going to end up lifting the trophy here.
Yeah, I mean, they're no sort of price, but if you've got a ticket, from the start of the season, plus 700, I mean, would you hedge, or would you just think, no, they'll get the job done on Saturday against Dortmund?
Personally, I wouldn't be hedging. And if you can get minus 300, I wouldn't be that opposed to backing them, actually. I think they should be shorter. I think this is a huge mismatch as far as I'm concerned.
Should be shorter. If you can get minus 300 on the night just to lift the trophy, it could be a play. If you like betting that, sure. RJ, just very quickly, who's lifting the trophy?
I'm going to be the outlier here. I think Dortmund's going to shock some people. Just there's been a lot of upsets in the sport world. Lacey Usyk over Fury. I think this is a similar type match, and there's a couple outliers that I'll get into here when we discuss our picks.
Indeed, and RJ's going to back up his thoughts with some hard currency and some picks as we go over the next half hour or so with the selections. We've got 5 picks on the final. We're going to talk about all of the major markets as we go. Let's get to the money line here. Dortmund are plus 425, Real Madrid minus 159, draw plus 325. First meeting between the two since December 2017. Real Madrid unbeaten in 4 against Dortmund. Not that it really matters, does it? Those historical matchups. Will, Madrid are minus money favourites. First time I make it since the round of 16 home game against Leipzig that they are minus money. I mean, just on those Leipzig prices, is that a good barometer, do you think, given where Leipzig finished in the league and where Borussia Dortmund finished in the Bundesliga? Is that a good look, a good start for bettors looking at moneyline prices?
Yeah, I think you're taking a leaf out of my own playbook there, Dan, with the kind of market.
Mate, I learned over the course of the season. I learned these things.
Head-to-head analysis. If you're basing the moneyline prices based off ratings or market implied analysis, common opponents, etc., Real Madrid were minus 180-ish at home to Leipzig, and I still have Leipzig as a better team than Dortmund. Obviously, Madrid had home advantage there. We're on neutral territory here. So, yeah, if you kind of join the dots there, we've got a fair money line price on Real Madrid based off that kind of analysis. Yeah.
Do you think Madrid will have had the tougher route to the final? Is that just an obvious thing to say? I mean, Steve referenced the fact that Dortmund came through a tough group, but in terms of the knockout stages, you beat City and Bayern. I mean, that's pretty much as tough as you're going to get almost.
Yeah, 100%. I remember when we did the show after the draw for the quarterfinals. We were, the main talking point there was the lopsided draw. So 100%. I don't think that Dortmund would have been able to ride their luck if they'd been in the other side of the draw and they'd had City or Bayern and Real Madrid in the quarters and semis. So yeah, they've definitely had the easier route to the final.
RJ, any finals trends? Favourites have won the last 2, 4 the last 6. Chelsea when they beat Man City, and Real Madrid when they beat Liverpool. I had to triple check that with the recent dogs to win. Should we just side with the favourites if people look at historical form here when it comes to Champions League finals?
I didn't really notice any trends that stood out too much, Dan. I think at this point, you got to look at teams, how they fared domestically. Have they've kind of just taken their foot off the pedal and were able to focus on, these European competitions. You got some sides like Dortmund that are still, playing for something domestically. So at this point, I think it just comes down to health of teams, right? That really has something to factor in at this stage in the season. I think, location is something, but it doesn't necessarily affect this match like it does the Europa Conference League. But this is tough, and I'll get into as well stated over the year. Like sometimes you make uncomfortable wagers, uncomfortable bets that just feel a little bit off, but there's metrics or data driven to get you to this stage, and you just got to go with data and your gut, I think, at this point.
Steve, what are your moneyline thoughts here? Do Dortmund deserve a bit more respect in the 90-minute win-draw-win market? Look, they beat Atleti in the quarter-final. They beat Paris Saint-Germain home and away. Let's not forget. I mean, that was a group of death, wasn't it, with Dortmund and Newcastle and Milan? Should they be a little bit shorter? What's your thought on the moneyline?
No, I don't think they deserve any more respect. I mean, I've been against them really all tournament at times. And for good reason.
How's that worked out for you?
Yeah, but the thing is, if you look at it, they've been very lucky. They have. I'm sorry, but they've been really lucky. All the metrics, everything like that, even the performances on the field. Somehow they've managed to get this far through sheer grit, tactical nous in a way, just putting bodies on the line, defensive stuff like that. But the actual stats, the metrics, everything, they've been well outplayed. And if they win the cup, they will probably win it in a very lucky way. They're not going to go out and dominate, are they? And lights to flag. Everyone's at the end of the game. Everyone's saying, "Oh, Dortmund absolutely outplayed Real off the park." That's not going to happen. If Dortmund get the trophy, they really are going to ride their luck. The keeper's probably going to have a really good game. Maybe they can keep that up, though. Maybe they will get lucky again. Maybe there was a time in that semi-final I was wondering, is their name actually written on this trophy? Mm-hmm. It was kind of ridiculous. But I'm a logical man, as you know, Dan, and I think the most likely outcome inside 90 minutes is probably Real Madrid to win the game. I don't think it will be a blowout, 1-0, 2-0, but. If I had a $300 bet or whatever, of course it would be going on Real Madrid on the money line in terms of the 3 outcomes.
We're not had
Dan, I don't mean to interrupt. Just to add, you did ask me about trends, and I did have a lot of notes in preparation on this, but I want to add that something that stood out, Real Madrid have struggled in away fixtures against Dortmund. They've only won once in 6 encounters not held in Madrid. So there could be some psychological factor here. I mean, I'm more about the current stage of where the teams are and where their head's at, but that's just something to note from historical trend perspective.
We've not had a tie in 90 minutes since the 15-16 final when Real Madrid beat Atletico on penalties eventually. But Will, you think there's a little bit of a case to be made for maybe this match going into extra time, and you've got a little bit of a lean, not an official play, but a big price lean that you think if bettors want a big price in this final, this could be it?
Yeah, Dan. Yeah, I wasn't expecting you to slot that in before my official pick because it is kind of counter to my official pick. But I wanted to look for an angle for the betters did did fancy this to be a tight game. Um, Personally, I think it's quite a mismatch, and my main pick will align with that. But I did look through the side markets and see that Real Madrid to win in extra time was plus 1,000, and it did just feel a little bit too big, based off mainly their propensity to get these kind of ties resolved at the death. As we all know, they scored two late goals versus Bayern. They won on penalties versus City. And then if you look at the squad depth, there's a huge mismatch there. If we get to extra time, we're going to have probably a tired Dortmund defence that have been chasing around the Vinicius and Bellinghams and Rodrigos of this world for 90 minutes. And then Real Madrid are going to be able to bring on Brahim Diaz if they need to, Jose Lu if they need to, Luka Modric if they need to. And what do Dortmund have to kind of counter that? Yes, they've got Marlon and Sebastian Haller if he's fit for this game, but the plus 1,000 just looks too big to me. If you fancy it to be a tight 90 minutes, personally I don't.
Yeah, no,
but yeah.
Yeah, I just thought I'd flank it in. We were talking about the money line. There's not been a draw for a while, so I thought I'd ask you about that one. I know it's something you wanted to talk about. So not an official play. We are going to get to the play shortly. Just want a quick word from all of you regarding teams here. I've picked out some sort of headlines that I don't know if they're talking points and worth it from a betting point of view, but I'll throw them all at you one by one. Will, a word from you on Jadon Sancho and the impact that he's had at Dortmund. Their win percentage with him 59%, without 52. It's not huge, but he's been the catalyst for something at Dortmund, hasn't he?
Yeah, certainly, perceptively, Sancho is a huge piece for them. Your win percentages of 59 and 52 don't really reflect that, but he's key for their style of play. He's certainly key for their style of play if they're going to get the job done here, and it's going to be in transition. It's going to be on the counter. They're not going to dominate possession. They're not going to dominate the game. The alternative to Sancho would be Marlon, and or Bayern Gittens, and both of those have got their similar strengths as well. But Sancho's got another gear, I think, and they're certainly going to need him to be firing on all cylinders if they're going to get the job done here.
RJ, Courtois is back, going to play Champions League final, I presume, because he's fit again now. This would be a first appearance this season for the keeper. I mean, he is an upgrade on Lunin. At the start of the season, we were talking about Lunin third choice. He eventually became second choice, didn't he? But he did play quarterfinals in the semis, didn't get a clean sheet. I mean, that's massive, isn't it, really, for Real Madrid, because they have conceded goals. And obviously, it's a collective when it comes to the defence, but he's been a special keeper for a long time and could be the difference maker potentially. What are your thoughts on team news in general and Courtois playing in the final now fully fit?
Yeah, in terms of Courtois, Dan, I think, I'd be a little leery. He obviously is a veteran. He's somebody you can count on behind the sticks, but I think he's had 4 competitive matches this entire year, right, versus Lunin, who's been in. And I think you said he hasn't kept a clean sheet, but he's been very serviceable. I think he's done quite well. And I think there was speculation, too, that Courtois got pulled on Saturday because he might have been injured, or the way he planted his feet in one of his, I think it was around the 60th minute, and then they pulled him shortly after, so there was question if he re-aggravated an injury. But I would say he's an upgrade, but depending on his form, right? I'd say fitness, right? But he's obviously in net, but how sharp is he? How would you rather have somebody in that's played 30 matches over the last 2-3 months, or would you rather have somebody that has played 4 competitive matches the entire calendar year, even with his skill level and his experience? That's up for debate. And then in terms of injuries, I think Will touched upon the fact that Dortmund will be out. Ben Sabani, Sebastian Haller is a doubt, I believe, at this point with an ankle injury. He might be in, but I think the biggest news here is Ben Sabani. Tuchemani for Real Madrid. is out, right? He's been a strong presence in the midfield. That'll be a pretty significant loss for them. They have plenty of pieces, don't get me wrong, to step in, but that's a pretty big loss for Real Madrid at this competition.
Will, just back to you briefly on Courtois. Does he make a difference in prices, do you think, to Real Madrid, or is he gone now? Is he veteran status? Is he just a minor upgrade on Lunin? I'm sure we discussed Lunin really early on this season about the fact that he was third choice, wasn't he, at the start of the campaign? Have I got that right?
Yeah, he was third choice at the start of the campaign, but I'm with RJ. I'd actually play Lunin here. I think it's a risk going with Courtois, and Lunin has been pretty much outstanding this season. So I think it's a surprise they're going with Courtois, but I'm sure Carlo knows better than I do, so I'll trust him.
Yeah, I mean, I pulled the team news off the UEFA website. I'm not 100% certain he's going to play, and RJ makes a good point. RE, the weekend. Steve, I'm going to throw you a curveball here with Bellingham. 4 goals, 2 assists, first 4 Champions League appearances this season. 0 goals, 1 assist in his next 6 appearances in this competition. I'm going to regret this, aren't I? Is Bellingham gone at the game when it comes to the Champions League?
The simple answer is, what's happened since the knockout phase? Real Madrid have had a much tougher run since the draw was made. And Bellingham, if you look at his heat maps and things in this competition, as opposed to, say, La Liga or in the group stage when they had some more favourable matchups, he's been deeper. He hasn't been getting in to so many advanced positions. They've used him more in his conventional role, or more of his conventional role. So that's probably why he's just not been in the positions enough to score the goals. It doesn't mean he's a bad finisher suddenly or whatever. Now, for this game, I think Real Madrid are going to be on the front foot a lot more. Dortmund are going to be sitting back an awful lot. So Bellingham may well be actually more of a threat than he was against, say, certainly Man City or Bayern. So in terms of by the way, back to Courtois, I would go with Lunin as well. I think he's not done anything wrong in this tournament. Courtois, that's a big injury that he's come back from. You've got to be, I think it can take quite a few months to be 100% from there. And Sancho, why is Jadon Sancho not in the England squad? I know that's a completely different debate, but I can't believe he didn't make the 30-man squad, 33-man squad initially. Absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, well, if he wins the Champions League, it's going to look a very odd decision from Gareth Southgate, isn't it? Let's get some official play, shall we? RJ, you are first up. You've alluded to the fact that you're siding with Dortmund-ish, and the Asian line is where you're going here. The Asian line is +1 with Dortmund -125, Real Madrid -103, and you're going for the Bundesliga club.
I am. I like Dortmund +1 at -125. I think there's good push protection here, and I think when you get to this stage, I've alluded to some of the key points, right? Some of the outliers here. The Dortmund goalkeeper Kobel has been very instrumental to their success. He maintained clean sheets against both legs against PSG. I stated Real Madrid, Tuchemani is out. I think that's a big loss for them. As I did say, they have plenty of talent that will step in and be able to sort of reproduce some of his efforts. And Dortmund have been very resilient, in the Champions League, specifically at home, but they've conceded the fewest goals amongst teams that have progressed past the quarterfinals. They've had 6 clean sheets. Real Madrid have allowed 15 goals. It's, a little bit less impressive, but I think they can be vulnerable. We talked about Courtois, right? Long-term injury, played 4 competitive matches this entire calendar year. They're both at neutral ground, right? This is at Wembley Stadium, so all bets are off in terms of Dortmund's home resilience here. And Dortmund have they've been pretty consistent overall in all competitions. Julian Brandt's going to be pivotal for this team. I think Mats Hummels has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. I think he was excluded from the Euro squad for Germany, so he was pretty bothered by that from what I could tell and what I read from his interviews. So there's just a lot at stake here. I think the pressure, to be fair, is on Madrid, right? Dortmund's coming in; they're the dogs. They're the ones that can shine. And I think Marco Reus's career coming to an end could send him off on a high note. I think he's coming to MLS potentially after this season. Charlotte FC is, I think, in talks with signing him. But I really think that Dortmund could compete here. I do believe wholeheartedly that Real Madrid are the better team. They should win. But what should happen and what does happen sometimes are two different things. And I'm going with an uncomfortable bet. But I like the fact that I can take Dortmund as strong as they've been with 1 goal buffer to possibly get a return on my stake and feel okay about that in this competition at this stage.
Dortmund +1 on the Asian line, -125. Will, you have got an official play on this as well, sort of, because you are pairing Madrid on the money line with a goal bet as well. Talk us through your play.
Yeah, Dan, I can't I can't get behind Dortmund here at all. I can't put any weight into head-to-heads from 2002 or 1998. For me, that's all irrelevant. Yeah, Kobel has been outstanding so far in this tournament. They've been saved by the woodwork 6 times in total against PSG across those 2 games. Outrageous. The luck that Dortmund have been riding in this tournament. They conceded over 5 total XG against PSG across the 2 legs in the semi-final. They conceded more than 4 XG against Atleti across the 2 legs. In the quarterfinal, they conceded around the same number against the 2 legs in PSV in the round of 16. I mean, it's just outrageous. The statistics are crazy there. Their per 90 averages in the Champions League so far this year, XG, they've been beat 1.87 to 1.26 in average. That's ridiculous for a finalist, quite frankly. Shots, they've been outshot 15.33 to 13.08. Completed passes, they've been outpassed 464 to 376.7. Progressive passes, 50 to 49. Through balls, 1.5 per 90 to 0.42. I mean, the list goes on. The defensive metrics are equally as ugly. It's, this is a mismatch. This is the biggest mismatch in a long, long time as far as I'm concerned. They're the lowest ranked team to reach the final since Chelsea in 2012. And before that, Liverpool in 2005. Both of those examples ended up winning, interestingly enough. So if you're pinning your hopes on Dortmund here, it just has to be some sort of fate thing and their name's on the trophy and some sort of kind of mystical idea, in my opinion, because all of the data and what your eyes see tells a completely different story. It tells a story where this, defended heroically narrative or being more defensive-minded in the Champions League versus the Bundesliga that we've heard round after round after round, in reality is they've got incredibly lucky. Their opponents haven't converted chances or they've hit the woodwork 6 times like PSG did. And yes, Real Madrid will have to be diligent to the transitions and counter-attacks from Dortmund, and too many being out in regards to that does not help for sure. But if those defensive numbers of Dortmund replicate themselves here, and Dortmund backers are relying on Bellingham, Vinny Jr., Rodrigo not converting those chances, then they're going to be in for a long night. So for me, I wanted to get Real Madrid on side. I actually quite like the money line price on its own, around -150. But to get it up to a more respectable price, -120, I've paired it with over 1.5 goals in the match. I'm a little bit nervous about the 1-0, to be honest, but I wouldn't put backers off just backing Real Madrid straight up. But yeah, that's my route in.
So Will likes Real Madrid to win and over 1.5 goals at -120. You mentioned, Will, that you are just a little bit concerned, well, maybe not concerned, but it's in your mind that 1-0 might be a thing. Last 4 finals, 1-0, under 2.5 the last 5. Is that a significant trend, do you think, not just in Champions League, but in major European finals, full stop?
No. I think, yes, you do have to be wary about backing overs in big European finals because obviously the games are likely to set up to be tighter. There's more on the line. But actually, if you look back across those 5 finals you mentioned, City Inter 2.67 total XG, Liverpool Real Madrid 2.92 total XG, Man City Chelsea 1.9 XG, PSG Bayern, no XG stats, but 22 goals and 5 big chances. I don't think it's as simple as an auto side with unders in big European finals. Although the line is quite high here, 2.75. Normally you'd be looking at a lower line. So I think Steve might have a bit more of an elaborative view on that on the total here.
Yeah, it does indeed. Over 2.5 is minus 152, under 2.5 plus 116. The Asian line 2.75, minus 118 over, minus 109 under. Steve, we've talked at length over the year about Dortmund unders and how they keep doing it, and Will has just rattled off all the metrics that say how on earth is this keeping happening. But if you've played under 2.5 goals in all the Dortmund games in the Champions League this season, you're nearly 11 points off from just 12 games. It's incredible. Madrid are an overs team in terms of profitability. You like the unders here. Talk us through your thoughts when it comes to the goal line.
Yeah, my main pick for the game is under 2.75 goals at minus 109 with Bet Rivers at the time of recording. I've really enjoyed the analysis from both gentlemen beforehand. I mean, Will's made a very, very good point there with the metrics of how lucky Dortmund have been. You know, and the final metrics are interesting as well. That they probably should have been more goals in recent finals. But why is that the case? I think, look, you think about it. Everyone puts bodies on the line in finals. You know, goalkeepers can have good games. You know, these are sometimes the best keepers in the world. I just think sometimes finals, if we look at them, just 3 of the last 18 Champions League finals have actually ended over 3.5 goals. And that's the only way that this bet would lose fully. You get a half loss if there's 3 goals exactly. But in recent finals, this is not going to be a good watch at all. Like for the last however many years, since they changed the final to a Saturday, I've been on the cricket field nearly every Saturday. And a lot of the time, I am rushing to get back to watch these games, really excited about the games. I'm not bothered about this one. I'm quite happy to sit. I'm away from home at a place called Grassington in the Yorkshire Dales. And I'm happy just to have a couple of drinks.
What are you doing in Grassington?
Playing cricket.
Oh, you're playing cricket?
Yeah, I'm doing my part here for the Yorkshire Tourist Board as well. But I'll be happy afterwards. I'm not bothered about an early finish. I'm going to sit in the bar and look at the lovely scenery because this game isn't. I know the actual pattern of play in this game is going to be very predictable. We're going to get Borussia Dortmund just defending deep, putting bodies on the line like they did against PSG, and Real Madrid will gradually work their way to try and break them down. And probably what will eventually happen is a bit of quality from Real Madrid will break the deadlock. Hopefully, from my point of view, it'll be quite late in the game. And then it might open up a little bit more. But I just don't see this being a very high-scoring game whatsoever. You've made this... I mean, you've mentioned about the Dortmund unders in... I think Dortmund's European results now do have to be completely taken in isolation compared to Bundesliga. They set themselves up differently in Europe. They're far more defensive. Look against PSG, the whole back four, the keeper just did amazing things. And we're going to see something similar. Can they keep being lucky? That's debatable, isn't it? But I think they can stay in the game for quite a while and keep it tight. And Real Madrid are not stupid enough to take risks, needless risks. So, yeah, based on also Wembley Stadium, by the way, for some reason this stadium matches here don't go over that often now. Look, the last 6 playoff finals here have all been unders. Recent FA Cup finals haven't been that high scoring. Even the Man United Man City one actually went under its goal line at the weekend, 3.25. There's something about this pitch. It's quite big, isn't it? I don't know. Certain stadiums promote more goals, don't they? Maybe it's just a recent trend, but European finals. When was the last real European final that genuinely excited you with goals and that? Any of them? It's been a while, hasn't it? These finals tend to be quite tetchy, and I think it's going to be quite a boring show. So I really do like the under. I was hoping for a 3-goal line. I was hoping to be really greedy. Was never going to get that, were we? But 2.75 will do me down on the under here, minus 109.
Do you know what? I think it's the first time Real Madrid are playing at Wembley. I'd have to check that, but I think it might be. So unders on the Asian line for Steve. Both teams score no, incidentally, last 5 finals that we've alluded to. And again, chalk and cheese with Dortmund and Real Madrid. If you like, Dortmund, no, has been profitable, yes, for Real Madrid over the course of this season. We have got a Dortmund backer in the shape of RJ. And RJ's gone for a nice team total here that is completely against what Steve and Will have been talking about over the course of the last 10 minutes or so. But I love this. Tell us your team total pick. It's only a half unit play and it's a big price as well, RJ.
Yeah, I'm on an island over here. Yeah. That's okay. Sometimes
I love that. Don't worry.
Sometimes it's all right. Yeah, I like. Well, I like. I don't love, but that's why it's a. What's that?
Liked past tense after you've heard me and Steve.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah. Like I did like it.
It sounds like you want to say
night,
liked, RJ.
And when I woke up this morning, now
the show is meant to persuade viewers. It's not meant to persuade our handicappers to change. But RJ, go on.
Yeah. No, and that brings up a good point. No, I really respect Will, Steve, Dan. I respect your insights, obviously, as well. And I think it's important to stick to your gut, your original belief on why you like picks, and maybe don't let people sway you from a decision unless you really have a good belief. You're like, maybe I should switch because my man Will and Steve over here talked me out of it. But Dortmund team total over 1.5 plus 260. I think it's worth a little bit of a stab. We give a slew of analysis as to why we all believe in our picks, and I just think Dortmund's dynamic play, they could spring a surprise here. I really truly believe that they have a chance. If to be fair, if someone gave me $1,000, Dan says, hey, $1,000 free bet. I think most people would put it on Real Madrid money line, right? Minus 150, minus 159. I mean, that's not I don't think that'd be a stretch by any means. And I think that, Dortmund do have some players, Sancho, Fulkrug, if you will, and I think they just have the ability to shock. It just depends on, it's like that term, any given Sunday, and they, as they say here in the NFL, any given Saturday here in the Champions League, do they have what it takes? Real Madrid have been here before, right? The experience is that's also on their back. I mean, everything pointing to Real Madrid here to be successful, and I'm at this point kind of playing devil's advocate, and may the best man win. May the best team win here.
Yeah, don't mind that at all. I've just been counting back Real Madrid. I think they've conceded 2 or more 14 times this season. You never know. Look, and it's a half-unit play. We've got it in the book at plus 260. Team total Dortmund over 1.5. Very quickly, for those that like an anytime goal scorer play, there's not $1,000 free bet up for grabs here, but we might be able to stretch to a $10 free bet. Fulkrug plus 275, Sancho plus 440, Adeyemi plus 440, Vina Jr. plus 117, Hossolo the same price, but I don't think he'll start. Rodrigo plus 163, Bellingham 163. Quickly, let's just get a very brief anytime goal scorer for those that like the market. Steve, let's go to you first. Any thoughts on this, or a slight lean?
Well, I'm on the under, so I would have to go no goal scorer, wouldn't I? If I could.
I suppose you would do, wouldn't you?
But if I had to pick a player, it would be Bellingham. Against his old club. It's the way things often go, isn't it?
Will?
First of all, Steve nearly did talk me into the unders, actually, because I thought his analysis was really good. And he has made me think twice about the over 1.5 part of my bet.
Can't change now. It's on the Excel spreadsheet.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I think Real Madrid will still get the job done. If I had a free bet on goal score, it'd have to be Bellingham at plus 163. He's a lot bigger price than Vinny, and he is top Real Madrid goal scorer this season. So, I think this is a game where you will be seeing Bellingham play in that late arriving in the box position, and I think he's more likely than the implied 38% chance that the market is suggesting.
RJ?
I'll go Fulkrug at plus 275. He hasn't scored since May 1st against PSG. He's been pretty well rested. I think he's due.
Those are anytime goal scorer thoughts. Just on that quickly, Steve, back to you on this one. Nigel talks about this a little bit. If you think there's going to be, if you're going to go unders and there's not a lot of goals around, are you better playing first goal scorer rather than any time? What we're talking about, sort of 2.5 times the price, roughly. Are we on those sort of selections? Any thoughts on that, Steve? If you think it's going to be a 1-0 or a 2-0, is there more value in a first goal scorer bet?
Nigel's right about that. Definitely, if you think it's an under, then you may as well go with first goal scorer. Yeah, it's not. It's not a market I tend to look at that often, to be honest. For whatever reason, I'm always more of an any time man. But yeah, it's a good point.
Well, it feels a bit muggy, doesn't it? If we're honest, first goal scorer, I always think, I'll stay away from now.
But it is a good point.
Probably find something else, right? Like,
yeah. One final official play before we get the best bets. Steve, you have gone to the well-worn Asian handicap first half market that we discuss at length every week. What have you got for us?
Yeah, I'm going with Dortmund first half Asian handicap plus 0.25. It's at plus 105 with Bet Rivers. I was really annoyed in the semi-final. I had a really good half-time, full-time play denying the PSG game. Did the hard part, got the draw. And then the second half, Dortmund fluked the win, didn't they? But I did mention how they have a very good first half record in Europe this season. They've only been behind one match in 12, and that was in Madrid. Atletico Madrid battered them. It was the one they should have put them completely to bed in that game. But anyway, Dortmund have a knack of having a very good first half, and it's because of the way they set themselves up. Defensive, like I said, men behind the ball, hard to break down. And, in the first half, they're more likely to be fresh, full of energy, not worn down as much. And in that way, I think half-time draw's not a bad bet here. I could see it being 0-0. And Real Madrid, like I said before, I don't think they're the sort of side who are going to take stupid risks early on. But at half-time, someone like Ancelotti will probably make some adjustments if needed. And that's where I think Real Madrid's second half wouldn't be a bad bet here, by the way, whatever happens in the first half. I think in the second half I would give them a lot more credit. But based on the stats, based on how I think the teams are going to set themselves up and Dortmund's resilience, I think it'll be worth something in the game. So the first half is what is where I'll be looking to back them. On that plus 0.25 line, plus money, I'm not as confident about this as the under 2.75, but I think it is worth a go.
Okay, that's the first half Asian line, Dortmund plus 105 from Steve to round out the picks. Best bets. RJ, what's your best play?
Dortmund plus 1 at minus 125.
Will?
I'm going to say Real Madrid money line, and I'm going to hope that the money line ticks up a little bit on Bet Rivers. Currently minus 159. Hopefully it gets minus 150, and I think at that point it's time to pull the trigger.
I was going to say, do you think it will? Do you think there'll be much movement between now and kickoff, or is the betting done in a game like this fairly early? I mean, lines are set and they don't move?
It's hard to really say. It's such a big game. The prices currently line up with my ratings, but you never know what the flows are going to be like. I'd imagine all the money's going to be on Real Madrid here, so I'm not confident it'll tick up, but you never know.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with the line. I forgot to ask you, Steve, is Grassington a tough place to go?
It is, actually. There's a team called Upper Wharfdale who have been doing very, very well since they joined.
Really? Are they top of the table?
They joined our league a few years ago. It is a tough place to go, a long way to go for a lot of teams as well. But you want my best bet for the final, don't you?
Yeah, go on. Best bet.
Before that, I just want to say I think it's been a great show. I mean, it's probably the one time all season that all three of us are probably thinking slightly differently in different ways, which is very interesting. But my best bet for the final has got to be the under 2.75 goals.
Great stuff. That wraps up Betting Weekly Extra Time Champions League Final Edition. We are done for the season. Good luck to everyone with their plays on the Wembley final between Borussia Dortmund and Real Madrid. Many thanks to Steve, Will and RJ. For now, from all of us, it's goodbye.